All right, everyone. So in today's sponsored interview, I'm sitting down with one of our tax partners here on the channel, the co-founder and CEO of CoinLedger, David. I've had the opportunity to get to know David over the past couple of months as I've learned more about the CoinLedger platform, exploring some of the options that are out there in the market to simplify crypto taxes. And David, thank you so much, man, for making the time. I know it's tax season, so things are hectic for you guys. And from a prior startup founder to another, I know that managing both of those must be chaos. So I appreciate you making the time to come on, man. I'm really excited to talk a little bit about what's going on with CoinLedger as a platform, how it can simplify taxes, but also hopefully let people know about some of the basics around crypto taxes. That's kind of where I wanted to kind of start off on some things, which is that, when I got into crypto as well, and I've traded in traditional financial markets, but I think for a lot of people, crypto is their first market, and people might have some misunderstandings around taxes, if they have to file taxes, what events are taxable events. So I would love, man, if maybe we could chat about that, maybe kind of dive a little bit into how it translates into the CoinLedger platform.
Yeah, totally. We can do all of that. I'm excited to be on. Thanks for having me. And excited to go a little bit deeper and provide some helpful info for people on answering common tax questions that we field a whole lot, especially here during tax season.
Yeah, man. So let's I guess maybe run through maybe like two or the three top like misconceptions. I know one of them that a lot of people bring up to me is that, if they trade from, for example, Bitcoin to altcoins, they think they don't owe any taxes. That's not true, correct? At least in the United States, for example.
Right. Yeah, I'd say one of the most common misconceptions that's related to that is folks think, well, I haven't cashed out yet, and thus I don't have any sort of tax liability. Unfortunately, that's not quite true. Just anytime you're disposing of property, you're incurring capital gains or capital losses. And so a disposal event is you could be trading the asset for another cryptocurrency, as you mentioned. You could be selling it to fiat. You could be using it to buy goods or services. Anytime you're truly disposing of an asset, you're realizing the gain or loss based on how it's fluctuated since you originally acquired it. And so I'd say that's a big misconception. Some other ones maybe are, well, if I'm transferring crypto from Coinbase to another cold wallet, maybe that I own, right? Transferring between my wallets, is that taxable? And the answer is no, because you're not disposing of assets yet, of that property. So that's another big one. And then the other big one is just I'd say, oh, crypto isn't taxable. It's completely pseudo-anonymous and it can't be tracked. Unfortunately, that's not the case either. There's companies, TRM, Chainalysis, many others, the exchanges that work with IRS and government agencies really around the world to enforce crypto income tax. And so I'd say asking me what are some of the misconceptions, those are some of the big ones, and I can drill into any of that based on what you think would be most helpful.
No, I think David, those are really kind of the big ones for me because a lot of our audience mainly are traders. I know some people are more long-term, investors, dollar cost averagers, but I have to say that's one of the biggest things overall is that people will have that misconception exactly as you mentioned about sending funds from one wallet to another. And I think maybe a good nuance there also as well is if you're sending crypto, for example, to say a friend or someone, that's different than sending it from your cold wallet, like
Exactly.
something that you own from one account to another. So yeah, it's important to understand those nuances because it's difficult at the end of the day to track all those activities. If people are doing trading or maybe long-term investing, that's one thing. But then you've got staking protocols, you've got yield-bearing like protocols where you earn interest in DeFi. You're also maybe not just trading on a centralized exchange. Maybe you're trading on decentralized exchanges, engaging in yield farming. I mean, the list goes on. Trading NFTs as well, another topic. All these things are taxable events, to my understanding, and because of that, I think it's difficult to have that kind of central place to track everything, and that's kind of where CoinLedger comes in. I want to let you guys know that just as we're going through the conversation, if you guys want to try out CoinLedger, it's totally free to try it out. I think that's awesome that you and the team did that, David, where essentially people can try it out, and you guys can check out the link in the description if you want to give it a go. Basically, CoinLedger focuses on plugging all of the core APIs, wallet addresses, all of the activities into one platform. And that makes the process a lot simpler. But I wanted to kind of let you maybe explain it, David, because you guys know it, you built the platform. How does this go about solving really the crypto tax problem? And how does it differ trading or engaging in crypto versus traditional markets like equities?
Mhm. Yeah. So you hit on a lot of the value propositions, right? When we started the business, me and my two co-founders actually were traders ourselves, and we were racking up hundreds of thousands of trades actually every year across multiple different exchanges. And the challenge is if you're ever moving crypto, from one exchange to another, from one wallet to another, the third party, the exchange, doesn't have the full picture of your transaction history, right? Because if I send crypto into a Coinbase or a Binance, that platform doesn't necessarily know what original price I bought the crypto for, any information on how I acquired it, how long I've held it. And that is all information that you actually need to report on capital gains, losses, and your taxable income. And so really the problem CoinLedger sets out to solve is, kind of becoming a one pane for all of your transaction history. So, as you mentioned, you can connect your wallets, your Coinbase account, your MetaMask wallet, your Ledger, and CoinLedger will automatically bring in all of that historical transactions and stitch together all of the cost basis, the original purchase price you bought it for, so that when you sell it 2 years later on a different exchange or wherever, you have that full transaction history. So at its simplest, the way we like to describe it, for those who don't know it, it's like TurboTax for cryptocurrency investors. You simply connect your wallets, exchanges, CoinLedger ingests all that data and spits out your annual gains, losses, and income for the year and for your tax reporting purposes. If we want to get a little bit deeper on why is it different in crypto than it is if I was investing in stocks, we definitely can. I'd be curious what you think would be most helpful for people to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is like, with stocks, I mean, while you can definitely trade like, for example, like, normal class common shares in a company, you can buy options contracts and like futures. The thing is that usually, if you think about the world of, kind of traditional equities, everything is from within one platform. And in
Right.
crypto, it's really like, unless you're someone who's just dollar cost averaging Bitcoin, you have a Coinbase account, it's so much more complex with how many opportunities there are and so many different pathways you can take. And I think to that point you mentioned, David, I think that big problem is that cost basis, figuring out the source of where funds came from and understanding the life cycle journey. I mean, I think back to 2017, 2021, you may start out buying Bitcoin and then you transfer to another exchange, you switch it into an altcoin. And if you just miss like one piece there, it can be incredibly difficult to really get the whole picture. And I love that about CoinLedger because once you get that all plugged in, it basically solves for the problem because you get a full 360-degree picture of where everything was, where it came from. And on top of that, so long as you're not, using other exchanges or wallets within the next fiscal year or next tax season, you already have everything plugged in. So I love that about like a platform like CoinLedger that just aggregates it. And then when you do use a new wallet, you just plug it in. And that history or that ledger of accounting essentially is, represented within the platform. And there's some cool things I think about like CoinLedger, like when I was using it, like for me, it made me realize that it's kind of a single source of truth for where everything is. And I can use it as essentially like a portfolio tool as well. So I think that, again, just in trying out the platform, it's nice. We can get it out, like try it for free, see how you like it, make sure you can get that full record of your history and remove the cost basis on those transactions. Once you do that, you can go about generating the tax forms if you want to pursue it on one of the pricing plans. So I think it's a really great offer. And I have to say, going from trading in equities over the last decade before crypto, for me, it's a huge benefit and stuff. Like from the prior few tax years I had done in 2017, 2018, it's a life changer when it comes to crypto to have something like this. So I wanted to kind of maybe dive a bit more into some of like the unique features and maybe how they relate to particular tax events around like what CoinLedger has to offer. I know one big thing that's important to keep in mind is that while we obviously hope to make money on crypto, sometimes you lose money as well. So being able to write off losses, maybe some of these more important points as well, the tax,
Yeah.
things people should be made aware of.
Totally. So yeah, on the losses side, so especially in the past couple of years, there has been downward pressure on markets, although now we're sitting here in better times, at least it seems. But just like when you realize a capital gain, you can also realize capital losses, which is when, of course, what you bought, let's say Bitcoin for, if it goes down in value and you sell it, that loss is tax deductible, meaning, it reduces your overall taxable income for the year. So CoinLedger, will first of all automatically handle any trades you've made that, get you into a loss position, spit out your tax form so that you can file those losses and thus reduce your tax bill for the year. But, we also have tools like tax loss harvesting. So, once you connect your wallets, your exchanges will show you which assets, are currently in an underwater position, meaning they're currently trading at less than your cost basis. And so if you sell or dispose of them, you will realize a capital loss and thus, again, strategically lower your taxes for the year. That's a big module that a lot of people use. Other things, you name it, NFTs, staking, DeFi protocols, we support all of that. And so really designed to be, the connective tissue for the whole crypto economy, integrate with a lot of places.
No, that's awesome, man. And I think what's great too is that you guys you mentioned earlier, like as kind of an analogy, that you guys have essentially built like the TurboTax for crypto. But what I think is really awesome is that if you already use TurboTax or a lot of the other like tax aggregation platforms in order to do all of your taxes, what's great is that CoinLedger also has those integrations as well. So you guys are not only integrated with practically, I mean, I didn't have any issue plugging in my exchange accounts, for like plugging in the actual data. So all of the major kind of APIs or different types of exchanges that you plug into, plugging in wallets is easy. DeFi related activities, whether it be with ERC20 tokens or NFTs. And not only do you have all those partnerships, but beyond that as well, you guys have some of the major tax platforms as well that you can essentially plug into and streamline that process as well.
Exactly. Yep. So you can take our reports that we generate and automatically import them into TurboTax, TaxAct, H&R Block, or just send them to your tax professional. It's really dependent on how you typically file your taxes every year.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess on this point, David, like one thing I'm curious about as well, like, are there any big changes coming in the tax laws around crypto in the US from at least what you can see? I know that like I remember back over the past couple of years how there have been some pretty big laws and changes around that tax code, irrespective of just like crypto as well. There can always be changes. So is there any big changes that are expected to potentially come in the next fiscal year of 2024 or ones that are relevant for us filing for our taxes in 2023?
Yeah, none for that like consumers technically need to worry about. The asset's going to continue to be taxed in the same way in that if you're earning income, whether it's from like staking, mining, getting cryptocurrency from a job, that's ordinary income. If you're trading it and realizing income, that's capital gains. But the one piece of legislation that is going to affect everyone is more on the enforcement side. So think about how is the IRS ensuring and enforcing tax reporting in this asset class. And what's been in the news really for the past 2 years now is 1099 information reporting as it exists for equity brokers, stock brokers, is going to make its way to crypto, which essentially just means the Coinbases and Binances and Geminis of the world will start sending 1099 forms detailing your transactions and your gains, losses, both to the IRS and to you, the taxpayer. And so this will give the IRS a lot more enforcement mechanism to make sure that compliance and the people who should be filing and reporting cryptocurrency related income on their taxes are. And so again, we talked about earlier, a lot of people say, oh, it's cryptocurrency, the government has no way of knowing. And this is going to be, a massive tool that they have under their belt to understand who is trading, transacting in crypto.
Yeah, I think to be honest, like I've already had a lot of people again, and I know it wasn't intentional, but a lot of people who again basically got audited from the IRS and stuff. They get a letter, they say they owe this and stuff, and that was from a lot of like the income generating platforms like Celsius and BlockFi back in the last cycle. And I think it's only going to get stricter and stuff as we go forward and stuff because as you mentioned, exchanges and those kind of companies now, even outside the exchange space, I would say as well, a lot of different types of providers out there and yield bearing protocols are going to be probably met with the same requirements and standards. And I think, again, at the end of the day, like, if you just basically, like, one of the things I always say as well, and maybe, David, you might have some ideas here about, like, what might be good. While you guys are a tax platform and you're about getting people to obviously do the right thing to report taxes and hopefully not deal with any issues, I think one of the other things is that it doesn't have to be all gray skies because, as we talked about, there's writing off losses. If you don't report that on the fiscal year that it happens, then you can't write them off going forward, from my understanding. So it's good to get on top of those things and see where there might be opportunities. I'm curious if you think about like, do you see crypto IRAs or other types of tax advantage strategies as being something like people should maybe consider looking into?
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with you. It's not all, just boring, do your taxes. Uh,
Yeah,
there's a lot of things you can do that are just beneficial, right? To reduce how much taxes you pay, to just a platform to track all of your wallets in one spot instead of across, your exchange, your wallets interface. But I'm a big fan on all tax deferral and avoidance strategies, legal ones. And so tax loss harvesting is probably the biggest one, but you also mentioned Bitcoin and crypto related IRAs that essentially allow you to, invest in a tax deferred manner, similar to a traditional IRA. And CoinLedger is well suited to help you honestly minimize your taxes, not just you know uh maximize everything that you're doing in terms of tax
making
reporting.
gains or yeah. No, I think that's true. And yeah, I think overall and stuff, the sooner you can get ahead on it and stuff, exactly as you mentioned, to be able to farm on those like potential losses that you've generated in the year that are unrealized, that's
Mhm.
probably one of the biggest untapped strategies that I've seen a lot of people struggle with, especially when market conditions are changing towards the end of the year. So no, man, this is really awesome, David. I'm curious, like if people want to get started with CoinLedger, where's the best place that they can go to kind of get that information set where, when they're on the platform? It's really simple for me to get like when I was going through the onboarding process, it's relatively intuitive, but maybe is there any good like document or good tutorials or videos that people can turn to? I know we did our interview, our review of the platform and kind of walk through things, so you guys can check that out. I'll have that in the description. But any other good resources as well, David?
Yeah, the whole obviously website is set up from the front to back to really be information rich and helpful and provide a lot of value completely for free. So that's coinledger.io. You can see exactly how the platform works. You can read about how crypto taxes work in your jurisdiction. We have, dozens and dozens and dozens of guides, content around that. And then I also would refer people to your video. It kind of shows you actually just walking through the
Yeah.
platform, how it works for your taxes. And I think those types of tutorials are really helpful visually to see as well.
Yeah, what I love about you guys is that like the support is great on the platform. You guys have great like support and help docs at each step of the process, especially when plugging in something that might be intimidating like API keys. And again, I think another important thing to consider here, guys, is that when you're plugging in like your wallet address or these API keys, a big misconception I've had from people is that they think that they're giving access to their account, and that's not true. If you're giving like an API read-only access key, or you're plugging in your crypto wallet address, it isn't like your private key or giving access to trading functionality. So long as you do things right, like in plugging in the API key, you don't have to worry about these things. So, but anyways, David, this is awesome, man. I'm really, again, it's a pleasure to have worked with you guys so long, so long here over these past few weeks and months. And I think that overall, you guys are doing a really big service to the crypto industry, because something that was originally an impossible task becomes a lot simpler with something like CoinLedger. So, yeah, I'll make sure, again, guys, if you're interested, I'll leave the links down below in the description. If you have any other additional tax questions as well, or kind of questions about getting onboarding, I definitely recommend you guys reach out to the CoinLedger support team. They'll help as much as they can. Some things are probably best suited to talk with an individual CPA as well if you have any really complex questions. But David, man, this was awesome. Thank you for taking some time out of this busy time of the year for you. And it was a pleasure to have you on, man.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me again. Again, any questions folks have, we'll answer them for free over at coinledger.io. Just give us a shout. But thanks for having me on, Nick, and I will hopefully see you again soon.
Absolutely, David. Thanks, man.